Hi, everybody. This is session 8 of our vlog, and we are totally excited. Don't forget, it's brought to you by Payne's Practical Products. Practical Products for her.
Yes. Fantastic.
Yes.
So good. We can thank Rachel for that one. You all may bow down in the comment section.
I accept your worship and thank you so humbly.
You know, if we really do get XP every time we make a dirty joke, we may have to put a rating on these
It's
videos.
on. It's on.
So, guys, where
Definitely.
should we start?
I think, to be honest, we should start with Kevin because his character's gone through a lot of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I
much.
mean,
He's still losing it, poor guy.
Yeah.
from the beginning of the session, I guess, is like just trying to figure out what the heck was going on. Like, two Cedrics, like the whole time he was just like, what? Yeah, he was just trying to figure it out, and then like they went to go see like the body and like the house, and everything was different, and then his body wasn't there, and it's like, oh my gosh, like what the heck?
Did you, going into this, what were your theories surrounding Cedric, Kevin? I'm just curious. What were you thinking was his deal?
Honestly, I was kind of like on board with like the Illuvion, kind of like, oh, it's a different
Alternate universe?
yeah,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
It's a good theory. It's a very good theory. Do
Uh,
you still think that might still be the case, or
no,
what?
no, not
You
really.
don't think that's the case? You don't think that's the case anymore? Okay.
No.
Okay.
I'm actually inclined to believe Connor's theory right now.
You think
or-
Connor's theory is right? Okay.
Well, kind of like the resurrection thing, and like this, like I don't know. It's really it's like it's so much to process because like so many things happen to him. Like when Connor suggested that theory, I was still trying to process it, and I knew that Cedric was still trying to process it, and then it just got to the point where it's like, all right, I just need to like go away, like because at that moment he was like, who the hell am I? Like,
Yeah.
what am
Yeah.
I?
Oh yeah, exactly.
It's,
Like,
it's
your
a
identity.
very fair question. Yeah,
Mhm.
realistic.
Are
And
you Cedric? Are you Liam? Where does one begin and the other one end? Mm-hmm.
and it just got to a point where it's like, all right, if I stay here, these people are gonna see me like break down, and I can't do that in front of mages. Sorry. So he's like, I'm just gonna go and pray. um,
I have to say, Kevin, that when I was trying to figure out the stuff for Cedric, a lot of the reason why I gave you this particular scenario is actually because of your audition. When I know that a lot of the fans, the viewers' favorite part of your audition was when you got into that very deep role playing, and then I saw so much potential there, and I was like, oh gosh, I wanted to throw your character in a situation where questions of identity is something that I thought would be so juicy for you to role play and explore. So it seems like you're grabbing the whole thing and just running with it.
Yeah.
So far, it looks great. I love what you're doing with the situation through Cedric.
Agreed.
Right now, he's just falling back onto like instinct, really. So that's why he put on the Templar armor, and he's trying to like block out like the questions of like, who am I really, and he's just focusing on like, names don't matter. I am a Templar. Like, so that's what he's trying to do right now. He's like, once I get more settled and like calm down a bit, then I can maybe go back and revisit who are like what's going on with me. But uh, at that moment he was just way too emotional and just not in his right mind, so to speak.
But before those revelations, though, I mean, he became a full-fledged Templar this session. That must have been pretty amazing for him.
Oh yeah, it was definitely a big milestone. That
Hmm.
my favorite part of the session, out of everything that's happened, was definitely Kenna getting him to dance.
Oh, that was so,
Oh,
that was
that
so
was so
cute.
cute.
I didn't think
That
that's
was
where that was
cute.
going. I thought it was like when I became a Templar.
Because he wouldn't have done it. He wouldn't have done it any other time. He's like, you know what? I'm a Templar now. Like, all of these years of like training and like striving to achieve this, and he's like, why not? Let's go for it.
And she didn't have to crawl on the ground towards you.
Aw.
for it.
I'm a little disappointed by that.
You guys wanted her begging? Please dance with me, Cedric. Please.
I'll touch your ankle. Give me that ankle. Give it to me.
And I will say, like, the thing with Hugh was a shock to me.
Yeah.
Ew.
Hugh's full backstory. Yes.
But
That was a lovely story.
I will say that I was really relieved because I was like, oh no, like there were so many portraits in that house, and I was like, no, don't tell me any of these things. Like,
What were you worried about?
I was worried that he killed like his parents,
Mm.
and I was like, if he did that, there was just
Hmm.
like that's what I was preparing for. I was like, I'm throwing my weapons aside because kill you.
Do you think Cedric was thinking that too?
No.
You don't think
I-
Cedric was thinking that?
I don't think Cedric had any clue that there was something wrong with Hugh.
Okay.
He just thought he was tranquil, and he kind of respected that. He didn't want to tell Ard that he
Yeah.
wasn't saying why he was made tranquil.
Yeah.
Now, if he had saw, like,
Right.
I think I said this in the other one, he would have acted a lot more differently. But
Right.
that didn't play out that way. It kind of
Exactly.
was more of a calm,
Right.
like, I trust you and you trust me,
Yeah.
so I'm just gonna.
Hugh's story is very long and involved, but it has to be because it's like you find out, well, he's tranquil but not by the chantry or but not by the circle. So how did that happen? Well, in order to explain that, then he has to say all of this. And then, there's a whole thing about, well, he's trying to protect someone or he's trying to protect some people. Well, in order for him to explain that, then he has to go through all this. And then you get to the whole premise of he's just over 50?
Yeah.
How is he
Yeah.
just over 50? And they're like, okay, well then I have to explain all of this. So it's one of those things where I guess for him, it makes sense for him to just not say anything. Even though he trusts you all, it's just such a long and involved story, and there's so many things. Just knowing, for example, the whole premise of him not telling Cedric is because he was afraid of too many people knowing that supposedly a cure for tranquility exists, which may or may not spark a Templar Mage War, because would that happen? Would that happen? So, what?
Templars and mages going to war? What?
What?
No.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Around this time in the calendar, in the Dragon Age calendar?
That sounds like it would make a really good game, Hark.
It does
You should
think like it would be a
copyright
really
that.
good game.
Yeah,
I know.
totally.
We should pitch that.
I've probably logged thousands of hours dealing with this issue in the
Yeah.
game. Just, yeah, we don't want that.
Yeah.
But I did like. I did like how you incorporated like that's what Hugh's burden was, because
Yeah.
like Cedric, instead of like my fear with that is like Cedric's gonna like reject Hugh and just be like, no, like you're evil and blah blah blah. You're lucky I don't kill you. But on the other hand, like what actually happened, how it actually turned out was that he actually gained even more respect for him, because he he was holding that burden, and Cedric kind of knows that if the tranquility thing did come out, that it probably wouldn't end well. So the fact that he had enough reserve to not preach from the mountain, say like, hey, like, all of this can happen, and the fact that he didn't want to get his magic back because he was afraid of like killing all of those people.
Yeah.
It's immensely like, it's like Cedric approved plus like $1 billion.
How did he feel about Hugh trying to kill himself?
It's kind of complicated with that. He believes all life is precious, but from that story that he was telling, it just seemed like he understood why he tried to do it. Because I think I said this within like that conversation, like when you have that much power, it changes you, and sometimes you might not like that change after a while.
It changes Hugh.
Changes you. It didn't really, like, it bothered him a little bit, but the the scale was still tilted in way in his favor.
Yeah, before that happened, Hugh hated himself. He was questioning whether or not, because you have to understand, like, when he was explaining it to you, I was trying to give some sort of implication that, yes, in his head he was doing the right thing by ended up killing those 7 people, but you have to understand, Hugh basically took it upon himself to be judge, jury, executioner. Yeah. And dangerous things can happen, when you become judge, jury, executioner, and then he never gets caught, because he's like the perfect assassin in that sense. And I think he got very scared of what he was becoming, and he was afraid that it would be spiraling out of control, and he legitimately saw himself as a monster. Legitimately did. And so when he decided to kill himself, the irony is, not only did he stay alive, but all of the hatred, all of the guilt, all of the self-deprecating and fear was gone. It's all gone. And so that ended up allowing him to cope with it, but then you have to ask yourself, like, he ended up taking the easy way out in a way. Yeah. Because now he's perfectly content with everything. Everything is very logical to him. And even though he doesn't fear going through the cure for tranquility, it makes you wonder what kind of person, how he would deal with that if all of a sudden he did get cured of his tranquility, and all of a sudden, because of course I would never throw you in a situation where that option could be there, where he could be cured.
No, of course it's coming. I'm in no doubt that that's coming.
I would never give you that option.
I was so glad when he was like, should we tell the others? And Cedric's like, no. And I'm like, thank you. Thank you.
Want to know yet?
Yeah.
Yes.
Keep that secret.
So I was curious as how you guys would deal with something hypothetically like that. If Hugh did become cured, would he thank you for it or not?
I just want to make a comment about there was a part when Hugh was talking that I felt like it wasn't like necessarily a typical tranquil thing to say, yes. And that's when he was starting to refer to himself as a monster, and it was coming across like he felt guilt that he hated himself, and I was thinking as I heard that I'm not sure whether a tranquil would actually feel that, and I think that ties into what Hugh said about sometimes he feels.
So to respond to that right away, he still remembers. Like, he still remembers that he was a monster, that he felt like he was a monster. I think that's what he was implying, that he remembers it. At the same time, I was trying to give myself a little bit of a safety net out of character, because role-playing a tranquil is challenging. Yeah. And I do not want to pretend that I will never make a mistake It's hard to say whether Hark, like that's not something a Tranquil would say or do. So to cover my butt, if I ever do make a mistake while role-playing Hugh, I wanted to make it clear in story, in game, that this may not be completely exactly like a full-on tranquility that the circle does, and I'm allowed to do that because the source of his tranquility is different.
Yeah, no,
It's
I mean
different.
that's how I
So-
took it. I didn't take
Yeah.
it as a kind of shaking a finger, that Hark, that's not a Tranquil.
So,
I
right.
took it as Hugh is a very special kind of Tranquil,
Yes,
and
he's very unique. Yes.
yeah, and that's how I took it. I felt that it was one of those things that distinguishes him as
Right.
not your typical circle
Exactly.
brand.
And that
Tranquil.
is how I explain his attachment and his loyalty to Cedric, because there's still a part of him who does quote unquote care about Cedric, and but Hugh would never be able to say that because I don't think he would realize that. But I think that the really thing I love about Hugh is that he's still he's self-aware about a lot of things. Even though he's Tranquil, he's self-aware of many things. And so when he talks about how he sometimes remembers how things feel, it's like pockets of the old Hugh, prior to him becoming Tranquil.
Yeah.
So,
I just love Hugh's character so much. So much.
I wasn't expecting to get a scene with him, to be honest. That was a nice surprise. I was expecting to have to babysit Connor.
I love
My
that.
heart. Oh, you get humor. I was like, oh, and then
Yeah.
Hugh was just like moving on.
Yeah.
I have to be careful as a player because I know way more about this stuff than Theo does.
Mhm.
And so I have
Yeah.
to keep reminding myself that, well, Theo's not going to actually come across. I mean, yes, there are Tranquil that take on roles as merchants and such, but that doesn't mean that he has an in-depth knowledge of them, or the
Yeah,
Circles or Templars for that matter.
Right.
So, yeah, there was that moment where he's like, oh, is he just kind of taking my joke and running with it? That doesn't seem like a typical Tranquil thing to do. But I was also quite surprised at how attached Hugh seemed to be to Theoben. I didn't think he had that level of connection with him, to be honest.
I wanted to make it clear that one of the words that I would best describe as for Hugh is loyal. He is very, very, very loyal. And once you establish some sort of, bond with him, I mean, at first it started with Cedric, and then Theoben started. Theoben was the only other person outside of Cedric who started talking to Hugh in like session 3.
Yeah.
And I think that is important to his character, is that he is loyal. And thank you again to Sam for saying you like Hugh a lot, because it's when you on paper you're like, this is a Tranquil, like how could a Tranquil be all that likable? And I really love what he has become, because he just started out as a small idea, and it's just amazing to me how much he's evolved over the sessions. So
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
thank you. I'm glad you guys don't want to kill him yet.
Yeah, and I feel like
Yeah.
Connor had quite a good session as well, as far as
Yeah, he got to do
Totally. That was so cute.
and his crush
Oh my
on Connor
God.
is adorable.
Oh yeah.
Totally cute.
Yeah.
How old is Kenna again, by the way?
She's
How old is...
22.
Oh yeah. Well, like I said, Connor's like 17, 18, 19, something along those lines.
What
like
would
18 or 19.
What would their ship name be? Like Connor? I
You
don't
came up with
know.
one, didn't you, Hannah? You sent it to me. What was it?
Kenor.
Kenor.
Kenor. That's
Kenor.
what I came up with.
Kenor.
Yeah, Kenor.
Yeah, I mean, of all of the PCs, Ken is definitely the closest in age to Connor. So that's
Yeah.
probably
And-
why
and-
he started.
It's
I mean,
so
and she's
sweet.
pretty. She's very pretty.
She's very pretty.
Yeah, the bear
And I
thing
did
was
her
great.
up.
Yes, I love their little draw moment.
Yeah, I think Princess Violetta has some competition, because I know that Violetta's been showing a lot of
Totally.
interest towards Kenna, and I kind of like that. That's what I try to do, is I try to throw options at you, and it's just a matter of how your character feels. It's a matter of which ones your character catches or doesn't catch. So I just kind of toss them your way and see what happens, and maybe some of you will catch it, maybe some of you will throw it back. I don't know. So,
She does love Connor, but she sees Connor as like her brother. Like she's
Yeah.
kind of like surrogating, like
yeah,
you're just like my brother.
brother zoned, family.
I feel
Yes.
so bad.
Sibling zoned. Yes.
Especially when he made me that little bear, I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna break your heart.
Oh no.
Yeah, and then like a rage, Connor will take out a dagger. And it's all Kenna's fault.
Yeah, totally.
But, yeah,
I'm sure Gwinnell would love that.
as I said, though, the highlight of the session for me was Hallie and Andrea's scene. But that was beautiful. Beautiful.
Mhm.
Thanks, that was a long time coming.
Yeah,
Rachel,
we were
I was like,
Yes. I apologize if it was blatantly obvious, if the GM was trying to...
Oh no, I did notice that part. I'm like, oh, chocolate, huh?
chocolate,
Is that what we're doing?
chocolate. Well, as soon as I heard chocolate, I was like, Hallie. I went to Rachel. I was like, Rachel, what was the prayer that you sent me?
Yeah, the
I
really
need it right now.
And of course I had it, but for some weird reason, it split it into 2 messages, but that ended up working okay, because that was the point of conversation.
Yeah. You said it wrong, and I was like, what are you talking about? That's how I remember it.
Some things never change.
It's about chocolate.
Yeah, that was...
It was just so beautifully raw. I loved it so
I
much.
loved it.
Thanks. Yeah. I figure, I know I've spoken in the past about how, like, Owlet and Old Tangerine are kind of her soft spot and her vulnerability.
Mhm.
I might say that one of her largest, deep regrets is not ever being able to find Andrea. So, yeah. That's been a long time coming.
I think everyone's been waiting for that. Don't they comment that in like every episode?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh my god. I can't.
Fun.
So excited.
There was a lot of feels. There was a lot of feels in that moment.
God, yeah.
And Andrea gets her back just in time to find out she's dying, because that's her
Yeah.
luck. Yeah.
That's why I didn't say that right now.
Yeah, I know. I'm like, oh god.
Just let me have one night.
Andrea knows she's cursed, but she doesn't know she's dying.
Yeah. Oh, that's not gonna come and bite us, is it?
I also feel like Andrea and Theoben had an adorably awkward beginning in the sense of like, oh yeah, I happen to have a potion. Oh really? Where'd you get it? Oh, I just have it. How'd you know about it?
Yeah, Andrea, worst liar ever.
I'm not really, though. Maybe just with my friends. Because Andrea is good at lying, but not when she's trying to be coy and try and figure out information. It's just so awkward. So awkward.
Yeah.
She doesn't get out much, guys.
Really?
Oh man.
Yeah,
I like that too, Hannah.
Yeah.
That was really funny. You know you're gonna die, Andrea. You know that, right?
Yeah, like I did think, I did wonder in my head whether or not Theo was being a bit blunt, but the fact of the matter is, like, he doesn't want to bullshit, and he as much as he tried to come across, as much as he knows that Andrea has skill and can fight, and honestly he honestly thought that what she was going to do was a death mission, and that worried him and that concerned him, so he felt he had to say something, even if she did kind of go, well, how dare you, you know I can handle myself, he felt better.
I know I'm gonna. Yeah, I know the likelihood of death is pretty high. Yeah, they're kind of strong. I don't even want to go near Maximilian.
I don't need to tell you how reluctant Theo was when he was just like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna, walk up to him and ask him to, politely help us out because I've been sent to steal your sword. It was
It
like,
could work. Who knows?
Could
Yeah.
I just no?
and then when she said she was going to go speak to Hallie, I mean, it was probably the best time to, in the sense that you guys had just reconciled, but I mean, the rest of the party still was presumably going to find out later what that's all about, and they're probably not going to be as accepting as Theo, Cedric.
Yep.
So that's just kind of what he was trying to prepare for.
Yeah, I have no illusions that Cedric will be okay with it.
Yeah, I wanted to know so badly what, like, in character, what Andrea's real mission is, because, like, again, we out of character are seeing all these puzzle pieces coming together,
Yep.
and I'm sitting here going, and I can't do a thing about it.
Yeah.
Great
It
scene.
is frustrating.
That is something I wasn't expecting as a new player to stuff like this, is having those pieces and knowing when it's right to say your theories. I don't.
Yeah.
I'm
Yes.
still trying to figure.
Well, that's what you can do here. You can do that here.
Okay.
Yeah. Blurt him.
Because, like, a couple days ago, I was telling the guys that I was going through, like, my Avatar history to, like, brush up, and I came across the section about how souls are destined to be resurrected, and how we're guided by previous experiences from our souls, but we wouldn't have the memories of them necessarily.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, you guys, this kind of sounds like us, because our marks are imprinted on our souls. And I don't know.
So you actually predicted the whole Liam thing? Is that what you're saying, Sam?
Yeah, I did. And then,
you
like,
called it?
at the start of the session, I was like, you guys, what if Liam's mind is in Cedric's body? Like,
And then she just dropped that and then we played, and then it turned out to be true.
Yeah, Sam just does a mic drop right there.
Yeah, totally.
Halaser's ending with the hot dog totally blew my theory out the water.
Me too.
I thought that Halaser was Andraste reborn, like, because of the link to fire, and especially when he said that the hug was warm, her skin's got darker, and, like,
That's right.
Andraste was burned, and, you know, that connection to Andraste and Andraste being her mentor, I thought it could be like a connection to the soul of Andraste. But I don't think Andraste had a dick, so
We don't know.
We
Don't
don't know.
judge.
We have no idea.
maybe she had a hot dog down there. I don't know, but didn't she give birth?
Don't judge. Don't judge.
Of course, sorry. Ben can give birth too. I forgot.
But we actually did share a couple of those theories. That's why when she was trying to explain the nature of her curse to Andrea, rather than say, "Oh well, you know, my skin is darkening and I'm getting smaller and smaller, and it's just like I'm burning up from the inside," I'm just like, I feel like an ember. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the ending happened, so now I'm prefiguring. Thanks.
yeah.
I mean, you can still say that. I think that
Yeah,
still
sure.
fits because of your bracer, so
Yeah.
your element.
Oh man.
Indeed.
But
Interesting.
I have dropped very subtle hints about what's going on with Halaser, but I don't think you're
Yeah.
going to catch it until after the fact.
Probably
So,
not. But that's fun. Thank you.
Sort of like how. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna ask Rachel if, like, how are you doing with that ending? Like,
Fine.
do you have any, like, thoughts on that, or is that just like, whoa, mind blown?
I'm still digesting it. Again, like, you know, I've got no problem with it, but I'm just like, okay, so what could that mean? What could that mean?
Well,
yeah.
you know, I was hinting about it when your bust line was receding. I was
I did.
starting to. I was so now that that happened. I was like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Sure, I get it. Yeah, with the bust line receding, I was thinking, again, more like the fact, like, okay, well, since her element is fire, I'm thinking maybe she's burning up from the inside, so maybe she is, in fact, you know, shriveling as a
Mhm.
dying ember.
Makes
or something
perfect
like
sense.
Yeah.
Mhm. Very good theory.
I might have been wrong about that, but I might have been right. Let's find out.
Maybe Halasea just needs some alone time to kind of figure out her new parts.
Or not alone time. She's made some very nice friends this time around. Theo, Andrea, let's really blow their minds.
Oh my god.
Artists, get out there.
Oh gosh. Oh god.
I
Try
do
to
like
keep it
how-
rated PG, though. Rated PG.
I do like how Theo and Halasea's relationship's progressing as well. Like
Yeah.
that's just been one of those steady growths. Like even from like session 1 and 2, like I think the first connection that Theo and Hallie had was when he approached her after the Pentavive and said
Yeah.
that he wasn't sure why he shouldn't just go to Orzammar and
Right.
back out. And from then, I just feel like their relationship has grown so organically as a friendship, and I really like how that's progressed.
Yeah.
Me too. It's a very nice surprise because as everything, like, as we began, Theo was, like, really low on the list of people to trust, and now he's, like, seriously boosted up at this point.
Yeah, no, I'm
I
very
like that.
surprised at how well Theo seems to be gelling with a lot of characters at the moment. Because I didn't really build him as a character as somebody that was going to be super social and make all the friends and be completely open, or even really, I wasn't even sure if he'd necessarily care if because he's always been so narrow in what his focuses are and what his goals are. Why would he feel the need to step in, say with Cedric when he was freaking out? Those things I didn't really predict, so it's kind of cool but now it feels wrong not to, because Theo does care about these people. That's awesome. But
That is lovely.
he's still, like, as he said with Hugh, like, Rosie's still on his mind quite a bit.
Yeah.
That was cute. That was a good moment.
That was a very good scene.
In general, I love one of the things I love about this particular session is that characters who normally don't interact with each other have started to interact with each other,
Yep.
and I love it when players take the initiative to do that, because I think it is interesting to see different characters talking to each other one-on-one or even in a group of 3. You guys will have obviously more opportunities with that when you go to the next session, because if you're doing what you planned on doing, you'll reunite back with the rest of the party, the other 4 party members back there, and then obviously you'll have an opportunity to interact with any of the 6 NPCs. So do take advantage of that, because that's what the next session is. Part of what the next session is for is the transition and giving you a chance to interact more with some of the other NPCs, because obviously you won't be able to take all 6 of them to Tevinter. I don't know if you want to take all 6 of them to Tevinter. So
Oh, we don't know how many we can take.
you don't know how many you can take to Tevinter. You know that the one into Orzammar allowed you to take 4. So the one in Orlais was unlimited as far as you know, and then I think the one in Violetta's was 2. So
I liked how Kenna used her bracer at the beginning of the session.
yes.
We had talked about it a little bit beforehand.
Yeah.
And she's like,
Yeah,
I don't
I
know
was
if I should
seeing
try it. And I was like, what do you mean you don't know? Just do it. Like,
Yeah.
Yay!
and so I was really glad that she was able to find that out about her bracer,
Yeah.
that it worked.
Yeah.
Mainly
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I put kind of like a calming effect on Cedric as well, because it would have escalated more. I don't know if like that's how the bracers really worked. I know that they play off your emotions.
Yeah.
When she calmed down the wind and the air pressure,
Mhm.
I kind of played it off as like he is also kind of calming, like he's not freaking out as much as he was. So I liked how she did, like she played that off, and how that
Yeah.
worked out.
Yeah, Kenna's element is very key to the other 4. Like, and Sam has the challenge of having to be probably more creative than everybody else, because Everybody else's elements are relatively straightforward, but with Kenna's being Aether, she really does have to think out of the box and think creatively, and I think she did a very good job today with
Yeah,
that.
she did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And she kissed Cedric's cheek at the end.
that
That
was
was so
sweet.
cute, so sweet.
Oh my gosh.
Theo also did a very good job at calming Cedric down at the end.
Oh gosh, that scene between you two, holy moly.
That was delightful.
I love that.
No one said anything. I'm pretty sure things would have gotten worse because he would have just been continuing to think on it, and like with his thought process at the time, it would have just made him angrier and angrier. But
Mhm.
when people decided to come up,
Yeah,
Theo said like the right things and
right.
made the right moves, and
Good
But
stuff.
it was how he genuinely felt. Like he didn't see you any differently, even knowing all of that. He just sees things how they are. And it was kind of cool for me as well because I have a philosophy degree, so these are the kind of things that used to come up all the time. Like, what makes a person a person? Is it our bodies? Is it our memories? Is it the idea of a soul and stuff like that? So it was kind of cool to inject a bit of that in Theo, because that was how he would have taken the news, and it was important for him to make sure that Cedric didn't feel like he was losing what he already had, that he didn't feel like this completely rewrites who he was as a person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think Kenna identifies a lot with that loss of identity. When she lost her whole family, like, she didn't know who she was without them. So I think that's why she connects in that way. She doesn't know exactly how he's feeling, but she knows that loss. So it felt right for her to go up there.
Yeah. I'll also say that it was really nice, not only from the character perspective, but from the overarching theme for, the Aether and the grounding force of Earth to go calm the storm. While
Yes, that's true.
While Hallie wanted to go and help, she also knew that that's not going to help. Maybe he just needs time for himself because his world got turned upside down. And besides that, we all know that fire and lightning don't go so well together. They make things worse.
fire
Right.
tornado,
Well-
anyone?
Well,
Fire tornado. That sounds
All
like an
things in
awesome
time.
combination.
yeah.
have to do
See, I was thinking the same thing because Andrea cares a great deal for Cedric at this point, but she's like, "Yeah, I'm a mage. I'm just gonna leave him alone."
Yeah.
So I was really glad other people went because I was
Yeah.
like, I wanted to, but I wasn't going to.
Yeah. And Hugh stayed put as well. I think
Yeah.
he was smart
Yeah.
enough to realize you don't want too many cooks in that kitchen.
Yep.
So better for me to stay put. I will say though that going back to Cedric's situation, I have been for this session. I've been waiting since again session 1 because I was waiting for that payoff since I told Kevin that there's a reason why. Like if nobody noticed, there's a reason why nobody in his first act and a half ever said Cedric's name, and so it was I've been waiting for this moment for a very long time. The whole thing with Liam, whatever is going on with Liam, that actually started. I first got that idea really when I had Ella's interview. If you remember, Library of Alexandria.
Yeah.
She pitched Tessa. And if you remember, when I asked her during the interview who you wanted to roleplay with, she said she wanted to roleplay with Liam.
Oh yeah, I remember that
And-
interview really well. It was a
Right.
really
It was a
good
great
interview.
interview.
Like when that
Right.
character was like talking over him constantly, and
Right.
yeah, it was really good.
So while I was getting back into Liam's character and while I was role-playing with Ella, that is when everything started going into my head about Liam's involvement in this story. That's where that came from. So thank you to the Library of Alexandria or Ella for
Yeah.
adding Liam into this storyline somehow.
I have a question for you, Hark.
Yes.
So, like, as a player, And as a viewer, I always like the intense RP sessions between characters. But as a GM, when you're just sitting back and listening, how is that for you? I mean, does it get, I'm sure it's not boring, but I mean, does it get tiring, or how do you feel while all that happens?
As a GM, it's for me, it's very fulfilling because it's not every GM can say that they can easily like walk away from a table and the players will just role play. You know, they'll just be on autopilot. Not every GM can do that because, you know, all groups are different and some campaigns are different. And so just watching you guys, again, not only role-playing with each other, but taking the initiative to role-play with each other. Like, I don't always have to ask, so does anybody want to talk to anyone? Does anybody want to interact with any of the NPCs? You guys kind of do that on your own, which I think is, for me, it makes, of course, my job easier.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think when you go out of your ways to role-play with each other or with the NPCs, it just feels organic. It feels real because it no longer feels like a game anymore because you actually are these people and you're actually having these natural conversations. And I love the topics that you bring up because there are some topics that are very true to life. There are a lot of topics that a lot of people I think can relate to. And I, as a person, as a GM who's watching this, who's viewing this, it's so entertaining because it's like my own personal TV series, you know what I'm saying? Like this old TV series that I'm watching and you guys are the actors, and every now and then you might interact with me at some point, you know? So it's just really cool just watching this drama unfold as if like I'm the one who's, you know, the viewer of a show and eating my popcorn and I wonder what's going to happen next because I don't know what's going to happen next. So it's just super cool how the six of us have gotten so tight and so comfortable with each other that the story just tells itself. Like, I don't know exactly what's about to happen, even though I'm GM. You don't know exactly what's about to happen. We just both react to what each other is doing, and then we build on that. And it's like beautiful, beautiful, beautiful art in my opinion.
I just want to as well say thank you to everyone that comments on the sessions and
yes,
because we all read them, don't we? We all look at the comments.
Maybe a little obsessive.
Yeah, refresh it every 10 seconds.
So it's great for us to see others engaging with us and our characters as well, and hearing everybody else's reactions and theories.
Yeah, totally.
Exactly.
And shipping.
And
shipping parties.
And questions, we're almost always happy to answer them when people ask us character questions.
Totally.
We're really happy to.
Yeah.
It's quite
so,
fun.
in a way, I just want to bring that up because Hart was talking about kind of our relationship as players to GM. I think it's important that there's that three-way connection between us and the people watching as well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Yeah.
Very good point. Thank you very much for bringing that out, Hannah. I wanted to say something along those lines as well.
Yeah.
Anything else before we close?
I was just excited to hear more Avar stuff from Kenna. I always like to hear it. She's so good at doing that, and I thought it was a really good moment for Andrea when you asked why she was still a slave and then you explained what she's supposed to be, and I was just like, yeah, I feel like Andrea hasn't really thought about it before, but now she is. She's like and she didn't have a good answer, and I really enjoyed that moment with you.
Yeah, that was great.
It goes to show how one major thing that you guys there was a question you guys asked me in a vlog before about have you ever surprised me? And one of the biggest surprises I guess that I had was that I thought that once you guys received your bracers, naturally you would want to learn more about these bracers. Naturally.
No.
So that maybe one of the first things that you would do would be to actually go to Eagle's Landing.
Mm.
But you haven't done that yet. And so it's interesting because there was a lot of stuff. There's a lot of chock full of information that is in Eagle's Landing, as you probably can imagine, all about these bracers that I haven't been able to tell you yet. So, and it's not a bad thing. I think it's cool how, like, my initial idea of how the story was going to flow, like the order of things, it's a totally different story now that the order that you're learning different pieces of the puzzle is a little bit in reverse, such that when if you finally do go to Eagle's Landing and you end up finding out certain information, then it'd be like, oh wow, that would have been really nice to know earlier. But if we knew that earlier, then we wouldn't have known this other thing earlier. So it's a balance. It's there's pros and cons whichever order you go, and it's just I'm amused by how totally clueless you are about this one thing, but you know so much more. I didn't expect you to find out the stuff with Liam and Cedric until much later, for example, like at least 2 more sessions down the line. But now it's been front loaded with this information, but you have no idea what these bracers are. What the deal is with those bracers this whole time.
I mean, we keep talking about it. I think we mentioned it during one of our breaks. Me and Sam, like, we were talking about it, but it was like it's not really seeming to be a priority for the group at the moment.
Right.
Find out more about the bracers, just that they're
just there right now.
Yeah. And now there's Navarra and stuff, Cedric. Now we're going to Kalsharok. It just seems like the group's like, all right, we've got these bracers. We kind of sort of know how they work. We'll try a few things and deal with it later. That seems to be where the group's at.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, our original plan was to go first to Eagle's Landing, but then we learned about, more dangers to, like, the dwarves and other people. Like, bigger priority over here. Let's focus elsewhere.
But, that totally legit guy is dealing with that. So
oh, yeah, he's got this handled.
He's got this. He's a good guy. I like him.
Well, let me ask you this then. So, what do you think is like the overarching... Somebody in the comments asked this question, is that they don't know what the overarching end goal is. Like, so far I've dropped all of these different, like, side stories. I don't know if I've dropped, like, a big bad necessarily. Like, it's very vague. So does anybody have any ideas what the overarching...
I honestly thought, like, just putting together the pieces that you mentioned way back when, we were doing the interviews, and just from the little pieces that came up during the campaign, I thought that this was going to be kind of a more political-centered campaign anyway, like the Landsmeet and deciding who was going to rule Ferelden and things like that.
Right, and less of a bad guy, like less of a villain.
Yeah, exactly. It's more, because Resurgence is like, it's like renewal, it's recreating, it's rebuilding from the last season.
Resurrecting, would you
say?
Resurrecting.
So that's what I thought it would be. Like, I felt like we were probably going to deal with a lot of the aftermath of season 1, and that there was probably going to be some twists along the way, which there is, and I'm still really nervous about, like, Kane and Quiet Death and the heroes, because that's kind of on the sideline at the moment. There's lots of little stuff to worry about, but yeah, that was my thought anyway.
Yeah, see, I was kind of thinking the same thing, except I was thinking it wasn't necessarily about, like, a big bad, because hearing about all of our backstories, they were all so tragic, and I thought that maybe the story was about us overcoming our past and becoming these new people while doing these little things and helping out. But it wasn't necessarily about, we have to defeat the evil. It's more like we have to defeat our own demons to do good. And that's the Resurgence, for me, it came from. I thought that was talking about.
Yes. And you guys are perfectly happy with that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
I mean, it's amazing just to see how much our characters are growing with each other and as individuals.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that, because I don't think that a story necessarily has to have a big bad, or necessarily has to have a full-on overarching story. That being said, this campaign does have a full overarching story. It's just you will not know until all the pieces are there. I
Oh,
think
good.
it's not going to be clear until all the pieces are there what it is, and once it happens, it's just going to be like rushing to the end at that point.
Oh,
So
gosh.
this is don't expect to know until another like eight sessions from now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
possibly,
Sure,
possibly.
sure.
Did you say this series is going to end? What?
I don't think he's the big bad, but I do think Trelif Thompson has a lot more to do with the overarching story.
Okay.
Like that, I've been thinking that since the beginning, because he's in two of our backstories, and he
Mhm.
knows a lot about Cedric, and I don't know.
Something going on with those Burgundy whoever's.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's working with the Burgundy people. I think he has a lot more. Like I think he has his fingers in a lot of pies. Type of. So
I think so too.
All Cedric knows about Trelif Thompson is that he's going to be in a world of hurt if Cedric ever gets his hands on.
I don't know why you're down on Trelif. All he wanted was a naked Templar.
That's right.
Like,
Naked in a Box now makes a little bit more sense.
Yeah.
I think.
Sounds like a
little bit
good
more
song.
sense. Naked,
Naked
in a
in a box.
Debian Hannick and Trelif Thompson are going to be in a world of hurt if they don't watch the facts.
hey,
Yeah.
I know a guy who knows a guy, and we're gonna see him next session probably, or the session
Andrea
after.
always knows a guy. Everybody.
the life of a slave. I don't know. It's just I know everybody.
Yes. Anything else before we close? Okay. All right. Thanks for the great vlog, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks.
Till next time.
Bye, guys.